Hello, it's Gwendolyn here. Um, First and foremost, I want to say hello, and I hope everybody's doing good. This is a great close to this wonderful class that I have had the pleasure of learning from. So basically, I have written down my ideas from the observation that I've done. So the teacher, I like to call him Mr. Teacher because I did not get his name or the grade level he was teaching. I'm just gonna leave it at sixth grade, you know, math, special education math. I know for a fact it's a special education class, and that I know the content that he's teaching. So this is what I said. I said, Mr. Teacher did a wonderful job on his observation. I was unable to find a high school self-contained special education teacher, but his class was just fine. Mr. Teacher, as I like to call him, was covering the same topic that I was teaching this week, so it was very fitting that I observed him. Telling time. Um, it was very challenging teaching my students how to tell time, but once they got the gist of it, it was smooth sailing after that. But it was very good to see how another teacher taught telling time, and I want to give my insights on how he told time versus how I taught telling time. So the teacher demonstrates standard to establish a respectful environment for a diverse population of students. The teacher is able to do this by flying colors. Mr. Teacher values contributions by building positive and appropriate relationships with students. He he builds a rapport with his students throughout the whole video, but from the beginning of the video, he uses specific examples of stuff like asking the students what their names are, um, putting it on the board, when their birthdays are. All these things, builds a rapport with the students and makes them feel, that they're not just a number, and it grows their capability to learn. Teacher knows standard 3. He he knows the standard that he's teaching. He's able to make the instruction relevant to his students. I like how he used examples with SpongeBob and Patrick. Now, I'm a SpongeBob lover myself. Um, he drew the attention to the lesson by using something relevant that the students would enjoy. He asked the students, "Hey, who loves SpongeBob?" They told him, "Hey, I love SpongeBob. I love Patrick." And then, he was able to tie that in with his lesson and say, "Okay, if SpongeBob and Patrick went to Jellyfish Fields," and I'm just kind of going off, trying to remember exactly what it was. But hey, if they went to Jellyfish Fields at 3:30 and they were gone for 10 minutes, how long were they gone? They would get back at 3:40. He used examples such as that. He also tied in some daily living skills here. He said, how many people feel like you're gonna use telling time in the future? And everybody's hands went up. He said, well, that's absolutely right. You're going to use telling time throughout your life. You're always going to have to use that. And they were like, how? Like, tell me how. And he was like, well, how many people plan on getting a job in the future? And they all were like, hey, me, I'm going to get a job. And he was like, well, don't you have to set an alarm to get up and go to your job? You need to know what time to go to your job. And they were like, yeah, that is right. We are going to have to know what time to go to our job. So tying in things like that lets you know, hey, you know, I'm going to need to know how to have this skill once I get grown. So it's good I'm learning it now. So when I get grown, it doesn't depart from me. All right. The last standard that I want to speak about is standard 4. Mr. Teacher uses teachers facilitate learning for their students by encouraging the students to ask questions, think creatively, and test their ideas. He really had them using the mini clocks And that was a very creative way to teach this. Me, I just used a video on the smart board and a sheet of paper. I never thought about using the mini clocks and then the bigger clock for me to model it. So that just shows the different ways of thinking and just how different teachers use different things. So it goes to show you there's different ways of showing students how to do things. And hey, I mean, I like the way he taught his. I mean, I had A+ on that one. So yeah. All right, suggestions that I have for Mr. Teacher's next observations would be I would have done some group work with the students, just hey, put 2 students here and one and be like, hey, show me 3:30, and the other one had to show it, and then they swap. That would be a good way to do group work. Or they could have done it a different way. They could have used whiteboards and drawn clocks, because that's another thing they might need to know how to do. They could draw clocks. And that's something that I might implement in my classroom. We do have whiteboards, so they might need to, review how to draw clocks on the whiteboard. Another suggestion that I have for Mr. Teacher, you could have dressed a little bit more professional. You had on khakis, but they were shorts. It might be a little hot where you are. So that's my only suggestions for you. A strategy to be used in my classroom, I would use those mini clocks. They really seem to have made the class seem more smooth, seem more effective. He just seemed like everything was very smooth with those mini clocks, and it seemed like the kids seemed to grasp it like that. My biggest takeaway is that students learn in many ways. Teachers can teach in many ways. You can teach telling time with division, and all of these ways can be very effective. So in my closing, I just want to say I learned a lot from this. You can't judge a book by its cover, because Mr. Teacher is a very effective teacher from what I learned from this observation. And I'm going to be definitely getting me some mini clocks so that I can teach chilling time for my future students and my students that I have now. And overall, this was a very, very great observation. And I look forward to doing more activities like this. Thank you and have a great day.